Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. We are live for your Friday night special ahead of, there's 4 game weeks left. This is the last single game week in a while. We've got 2 doubles coming up. So single game week 35, deadline tomorrow, joined by Dean Jones. Dean, how are you, mate?
Hello, mate. I'm good. I mean, that last game week was absolute shambles. Absolute shambles. It's all over the place for me. Just some stupid, like March, Mitoma, Saka, Martinelli, 9 points between them. 9 points between them. That is not what the doctor ordered. I know a lot of people are hurt by similar things. I mean, Saka and Martinelli, if you all remember, one of them was supposed to go last week, and that's when I didn't press confirm on my transfers. But I mean, Rashford was coming in, so it's not like I missed out on that much.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter too much in that sense. Yeah, 79 points, which looks all right, but it's not really when you consider what everybody else.
It was all the chips, mate. There were so many using triple captain Haaland, many using bench boost, and even free hits and wild cards. Guys in the chat, good to see so many of you. Janny on vacation says punter. I saw a Men in Black comment from Galrav, and I've seen Dean's had a haircut. I'm at my dad's house tonight, and nothing's going to stop us streaming.
Do you know what? I had a bit of nightmare with my hair because there's 2 people I tend to use. So there's one barber that's in London. So when I used to work in London at Bleacher Report, there's a really good barber nearby. So I used to go to her. And obviously, since lockdown, it's been harder and harder to get to her. So if I'm up in London, I'll just get my hair cut. If not, there was a guy 5-10 minutes from where I live, and he was good, really good. And I found him 18 months ago. He was into FPL as well. We had some good chats. And all good. And then suddenly got a message from the barbers a month ago saying, yeah, he's left. Call now to rebook with another member of staff. And so I texted him. I was like, I hope everything's all right, mate. He never replied.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're in this dilemma. And now here's the backup plan. I've never talked about this, obviously, but my parents are both hairdressers.
No way.
But I haven't let my mum cut my hair for at least 10 years. My mum hasn't cut my hair for years and years. And suddenly, last week, I was like, Mum. So not only did it save me 30 quid, I also got a cup of tea for free while I was there. Lovely.
That's awesome, mate. And you can tell your mum straight away, first YouTube show off the new trim, and I get a compliment already.
Yeah, so first time I've ever been complimented on my hair on the show. Happy days.
Awesome.
What a saving.
Guys, coming up in today's show, we're going to be looking at our plans, of course, a press conference roundup. We got Against the Obvious. We're answering your questions. All ahead of tomorrow's deadline, we'll be talking about some Man City selection dilemmas, Liverpool selection dilemmas. I'll talk Jota. Just want to reflect on the game week just gone very quickly. Dean mentioned his lowish score. I've seen some great scores in the chat. I think Fro just said he got 127 with no chip. That's awesome.
No chip.
Awesome, that is. Loads complained last night about the Shaw incident because Shaw went from something like 9 points to 1 point because he was on clean sheet, max bonus, and then he went and got yellow carded, lost his bonus, lost his clean sheet, all off that goal. But I didn't own Luke Shaw, so I was like, whatever. I owned David De Gea that actually had an even or just as big a fall from grace. I think he went from 11 to 3. So De Gea was an interesting one. He was on 5 saves. Luke Shaw gives away the free kick, but the play continues, right? And as the play continues, someone has a shot and De Gea saves it. So De Gea goes up to 6 saves, which is an additional 2 points. And that gets him the 3 bonus. He leapfrogs Shaw. And then the whistle goes, VAR, we check. So the save points comes off for De Gea. The bonus comes off. And then he concedes. And I was like, that was absolutely huge for me as a De Gea owner. So that was really disappointing. He went from 11 to 3. And knowing so many had McAllister, if he saves that penalty, that 11 goes to an additional, is it 4 or 5 points? So he's on a 16-pointer. It would have been huge. But
Mark
never saves penalties.
Yeah, Mark, I had Shaw and De Gea.
No.
So McAllister has killed me. I mean, that really is, that is a massive blow. Especially that late.
That's like a 20-point swing just there.
Oh, my God. You were just hoping that Solly March steps up, weren't you? Or you've got Solly March, haven't you? Maybe you didn't want him to miss.
Yeah, I know. When I saw Solly was benched, I was gutted. We thought
no, I know. Yeah, it was. I was like, oh, this. But what a narrative, isn't it?
I was happy. It's a weird one. I was forget FPL for a minute. I was happy.
Yeah, in the last minute with a penalty is just like, it's just ludicrous. Like how football throws this stuff up. It's just mad. Kev says, game week 33 rank 10 million.
Ouch. I mean, there's only 11 million managers, so that is bad. And a lot of them are dead teams.
Ranked 12k. That is not possible. What?
That's ridiculous. Yeah. Wow.
What?
Okay. So, okay.
How?
So it's not his overall rank in terms of his game week rank. So
his game week ranking.
So he was the 10
million. Got 475 points in a game week.
So Kev, what's your OR? What's your overall rank? Let us know. I'm guessing you're around like 200k or something.
Mate, I have absolutely bombed now. Like this one has killed me. I know, like this was the risk I always took by getting rid of all my chips when I did that game week when I went triple captain and stuff. But it's going to get embarrassing soon. Something's got to happen.
Mate. Good end.
Something's got to happen.
Representing on 180k. Guys, make sure you're hitting that like button and subscribing. Awesome to have 120 of you in the chat so far. Make sure you're supporting the channel by, if you don't already subscribe, and I'm sure 80% do. Guys, let us know in the chat. Are you a subscriber? Look, you don't have to subscribe, no obligation here, but really keen to know from those in the chat right now, a simple yes or no. Are you currently subscribed, right? Before those that maybe are going to subscribe in the next 30 seconds, are you subscribed? Yes or no? It'd be really interesting. Looks like we're getting a lot of yeses in, Dean.
Yeah, that's good. I was thinking the other day, like things to do. At some point soon, I didn't set it up before we came on, but I'm just going to set my Instagram to go live or something when we start talking. And loads of people are going to be like, what? Dean's gone live? He never ever does this. So those people might start watching and they might start liking it. And so I'm going to try something little like that soon, just to try and get some new people on board here, because it's hard to like reach out. You know, the audience is there, but even if I sometimes see something, I'm like, oh, that's cool, I'll watch that at some point. To actually click it and go and watch it, it is a big step, isn't it? So I'm going to try and just throw this in front of people's eyes when they least expect it. The only time I've ever gone live on Instagram, by the way.
I know this story. It's your son, wasn't it?
Oh.
I think I heard you talk about it on Ranks like a year ago, maybe.
Yeah, he just went live. I think we were in the bathroom or something, and he went live on Instagram. And it's so hard to take down. Like, it stays on. And like to actually get a live down, like I was properly like, I felt like on your
feed, like it goes onto your grid, doesn't it?
Yeah, I felt like a 60-year-old man. I'm quickly like going into Google. How do you delete this from your Instagram? I literally had to go through the steps to find it and delete it. But yeah, so it's been a long time since I've been live, and that wasn't on purpose. I'm going to try that soon. I think it'd be interesting.
That is awesome. I feel like I'm preaching to the converted when I ask you all to subscribe, knowing that everyone in the chat is literally...
They're all loyal here. Loyal chasers, like season ticket holders.
Yeah, I guess my next call to action then is I'm going to stop telling you all to subscribe because you already do. I'm just going to say, please hit the like button, because I know that isn't necessarily the case, right? Because I can see the likes, 44, 120 watching. So maybe I just push that.
Do that, or you've all got to send it to a friend, or you stop talking. We sit here.
Yeah, maybe that's where we'll go. Maybe
not.
So what have we got coming up first in today's show? I think we've probably got our fresh off the press, have we, Dean?
I think, yeah, let's start fresh off the press, yeah.
Cool, good stuff. Roll.
Oh, we're back. Mate, it wouldn't be right if we didn't start with Jota.
Oh, man. I
mean, that was a roller coaster for you, wasn't it?
Really was. That when I saw he was out for the first game, and obviously he came on and got the goal, it was great. But I was like, it's fine. At least now I know he gets game 2 versus Fulham. I get game 2 versus Fulham. And then Klopp says pre-Fulham, like, it's a new injury, it's a different injury, it's a rib, not a back. I think originally it was his back, then it was his ribs. Yeah. And now again today, like apparently he's trained, but it was just non-contact. And
mate,
it doesn't look good, does it? The quotes don't sound great.
Don't make good reading. I mean, for this one, I literally have just using the quotes from the presser. Diogo has his back issue, bruised rib. He could train yesterday, but he didn't do a lot, to be honest. He was not really in danger yesterday for any kind of contact or stuff like this. So we have to see. I mean, he ain't playing, is he?
No, I don't think so.
You can't go to a Premier League match on the back of that. Like, No chance. It's too physical.
One of the journos asked him about a selection headache in the front three. And Klopp went, what selection headache? As in, I've got Bobby Firmino, who I've said's out, and I've just told you about Jota's injury, alluding to the fact that there is no selection headache.
There's no selection headache. It picks itself.
Perhaps it's Darwin or Diaz on the left, but, Hakpo starts, Salah starts. And then, Diaz would make it, I think, 3 starts in a week, which maybe off the back of his long injury is too much. But even then, his minutes have been managed anyway, so maybe he's fine. So,
is it a sell on Jota now? Yeah.
I think it is, but I still don't know who I'm buying, mate. That's the problem. I know I want a Newcastle forward. I mean, I think we'll probably speak more about Newcastle later, but I mean, I want an extra week to scout which one I want to buy because they double next week. Yeah. And I don't mind picking them versus Arsenal, but I still don't know if it's Wilson or Isak. I know I want Wilson, but I'm worried about his minutes.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Bill's asking exactly that question, actually. Right. Let's move on to another player that a lot got caught out by, KDB. A twinge. He's back in full training though. And Pep says, we'll have to wait and see how things go. He says he trained yesterday and he was good. He'll train again today. So it was after the actual presser that they saw him properly again. So we haven't had an update, obviously, since 3 o'clock or whatever. He's been missing 1 week or 10 days. And at this time of season, that is not a problem. He said, if he's fit, he can play. So it does sound more optimistic on De Bruyne. I guess the only thing to toss up there is the fact that they've got this Champions League match coming up against Real Madrid that I imagine he wants Kevin De Bruyne in that game very much. So does he risk it or does he just go with what's been working? It's not like what City have been doing doesn't work and you just keep De Bruyne on the bench in case it's not working this time around. So that is a bit of a headache. Let us know if you have KDB and what you plan to do with him. Mark says KDB is vulnerable to muscle fatigue. He has been a little bit. I'll probably give you that. Also, vulnerable to dressing badly as well, from what I saw the other night.
I saw that picture.
I didn't mind the outfit. It was just the coat didn't really go, I think. That was I like the coat separately. I liked the outfit on its own.
Yeah.
Together, it just didn't work.
Mate, there's something about footballers, though. That's obviously an on-trend thing, the big oversized coat, great. But we're so used to seeing, and I think he was standing on a football pitch, we're so used to seeing footballers in football gear or training gear. When they do dress up like that or dress smartly, they just look weird. They just look weird. It's like,
you just wanting to walk around in a Man City kit all day, every day.
Where's your tracksuit and your headphones? I think KDB has to get minutes for Real Madrid, but it'll be an interesting one. Look, guys, the good news about this game week is, for the first time in a long time, the deadline's 1:30 and the first game's a 3 p.m. Now, the 3 p.m. game, one of the 3 p.m. games, I think it's 3 of them, is Man City.
Yeah.
Man City are one of probably 4 or 5 teams, maybe 6 or 7, where there's some reliable in the nose, and we see our Twitter timelines are often full of loads of rubbish, but usually some legitimate team leaks. And Man City are one that we often get. So if, for example, there is a Grealish benching and Foden starts, great. Maybe there's a 1 week punt there. If there is a KDB or a Haaland benching and Alvarez is starting, again, maybe he's someone I buy instead of Jota. So I'll be waiting till 120 to probably maybe 125 to lock my transfers in. Don't wait till 128, 129, 130 because the FPL site could crash, and it has crashed before. But I think we'll get some credible information on Man City. Maybe not too many other teams, like Liverpool 5:30 tomorrow. That's not going to help you. Although, look, might see pictures of Jota if he's travelled or not. But for me, I think the Man City lineup and anything we know could be key because Alvarez, Foden and Mahrez, those 3 are all really good 1 week punts for Leeds. Or are Leeds going to park the bus and be really tricky to score against anyway? I mean, it's hard to tell.
I mean, they're going to try and park the bus for sure, but we don't know whether that'll work or not. Abe's got an absolute dilemma. The deadline for him is 5 a.m. He needs to take a gamble. I do forget that. Just because it's a good time for us doesn't mean it's a good time for the rest of the world, does it?
We are a massive advantage, aren't we?
We are actually, aren't we? We are right here. So I do forget that. We are literally on the doorstep of all this stuff. And I guess in a way we have got an advantage there. Interesting to see who else is affected by the time changes in terms of when you need to confirm your team by. Because if late on there is a leak, these people are affected by it. They can't stay up till 5 a.m. just waiting for some team news for FPL. Right, let's see what else I've got. Arsenal. So Arsenal obviously going to Newcastle on Sunday. What a game this is, by the way. Like second v third.
I see goals.
Newcastle favourites. Newcastle were actually favourites to win this game, and I'm not surprised, especially because of the team news. Saliba is out, and now Gabriel, massive doubt.
Kivior on holding. Will it be Kivior on holding then?
Mate, it's Kivior on holding. This is a 5-0. Gabriel obviously came off late in the win over Chelsea. He's got an ankle problem. Trying to get him through it. Arteta says we'll have to wait and see how he is. But he couldn't finish the game. That's obviously a big sign. And he couldn't really give any more on it. I mean, there'll be a temptation to risk it if he's even 75% fit, I'd imagine, because like without those two guys, Newcastle will be going for it. And there will be that temptation to go with Wilson and Isak. 100%.
Why have they not started together? Because Eddie Howe has said, like, he said there's numerous reasons why. Wilson's can't play 3 times a week and injuries, and they both clearly want to be the number 9. But when we've seen them cameo in second halves together, Isak left, Wilson down the middle, it's done really, really well. And surely going into the transfer window, Eddie Howe needs to know ahead of next season, because it will affect his moves in the market. Does he see his first choice 11 featuring both of them? And if so, is it a front 2 or is it Isak left on a front 3? He has to trial these two together in the next 4 or 5 games. Maybe Arsenal's the wrong game to do that. They got Leeds after that. But I'm sure we're going to see it. And apparently, I've spoken to a couple of Newcastle fans. One of the keys could be Sean Longstaff, who's been injured. If Longstaff is fit and Eddie Howe has been coy over this, then Joel Linton will play on the left, because Joel Linton has been playing really well on the left. If Longstaff doesn't make it, then Joel Linton will be needed in the middle. It will be Bruno Guimaraes, Willock, Joel Linton. And if that's the case, I don't think Anthony Gordon's starting on the left again. He was useless last time out. He got hooked at half time. We then could see Isak and Wilson starting together if Longstaff's out. Howe was quoted today saying, we hope he trains. He's feeling better. I've gone through half an hour ago all training photos that were on the Newcastle website, uploaded literally half an hour ago, and he's not pictured in any of them, which could mean no Longstaff, Joel Linton middle 3, Isak, Wilson together. I would love that.
I mean, here's a reason to doubt it. Callum Wilson spoke about this. You know, he's got this podcast that he does.
Yeah.
He spoke about it. Yeah, so they were talking about Isak, and he said, look, he's a great player, great competition for me. The only shame about this is we both play in the same position, because he's one of those players that you would really want to play with. The competition has helped me. It helps you grow as a person. Everybody needs that push now and again. He said, but you can sink or swim, basically. Do you want to accept a place on the bench, or do you want to keep fighting as you've always done? It goes on and on, but he's suggesting that it's one or the other. That's the problem with the quotes that he actually gave. Yeah. So that tells me the way that he's talking is that Howe doesn't want to do it. So unless he's absolutely forced and there's no other alternatives, he wants to start with Isak or Wilson.
But then second half last week, like they're struggling. Gordon comes off for Isak. I think last week the XG on Isak was 0.00. He turned creator, but his XA, his expected assists, were really high. And I think he put Wilson in for one of his goals.
Yeah.
So they can link together. They can play well together. And maybe Isak, he wants to be the 9. Of course he does. He wants to be the main man. But maybe he can adapt and play several roles. We know Callum Wilson can only play one role. But even from his time in Spain, I feel like Isak always played in the front 2. Like, I've never seen him. I could be wrong. I haven't watched a huge amount of him. But even for Sweden, again, his time in Spain, I've always seen him up front with someone. I've never seen him as the main out-and-out number 9. So, I don't know. You're right. I think Howe does see it like that, but maybe he can adapt. Maybe
let's see how Neymar affects him next season when he's up there. I did actually speak to someone, about Neymar. I saw someone just talking about it in the comments.
Oh yeah.
And look, I'm not saying it's going to happen, because it's probably won't, but they like him, and there is it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
But Newcastle want to go that one step and sign their first marquee player. They can afford the transfer fee. They're going to be in the Champions League. They want another wide forward. There's a lot of things there. They've got a couple of Brazilian lads in the squad already. Maybe they're mates with him.
Portuguese
Eddie Howe out. He's on 30 million euros a year at PSG, and he's got a contract for another 4 years. That's the problem.
But Newcastle can afford, what, a financial fair play would be the problem, because Newcastle surely aren't going to be put off by those
the thing, isn't
wages
it?
for a marquee signing.
Big Tip said Newcastle cannot afford the wages. Well, they have the richest owners in the world. You can get by for a couple of years. You get a couple of years to figure it out, especially as they're in the Champions League, and they might have a run in the Champions League too. Who knows? If they get Neymar, maybe they could go and actually have a run. I mean, I'm not convinced that a team that's built such good unity should be signing Neymar, but maybe he's not such a bad egg. I don't know. Like, I personally have never loved Neymar. I respect like what he can do with football, because it's absolutely ludicrous, but there's just the side to his personality that always, like, you know, is injured when it suits him, or he'll like have these tantrums and stuff. And I'm like,
never misses his sister's birthday. He's always injured.
Yeah, he's never missed it. Yeah, exactly.
Newcastle night out, he'll love. He's a party boy.
He would, yeah, and they would love to have
They
him
won't
there
like
as
the
well.
weather.
They would love it. He'd probably just live in Brazil and fly for games. Anyway, just I'd throw that in.
Yeah, I'll just train the day before the game, and I'll just do 2-day journeys every week to Newcastle. Well, keep us posted with that one. I'm sure. Look, pre-season we'll speak loads about this transfer.
Jono said Dean's not convinced, but looks very excited about it. It is that. It literally is that. Like, I've seen the story. Like, obviously in my job, I have to cover transfers. Like, for Give Me Sport, I'll often like follow up every story because they'll want a quote and like a gauge on like what fans should think. And when I first see Neymar or Mbappe or anyone linked to Newcastle, my first temptation is to just be like, what a load of nonsense. And that probably is going to end up being the case here. But the fact that I got any positivity back from the couple of people that I spoke to, and they are very well attached to this, and they do get good steers on where the stories are, just made me wonder. It just made me wonder. And I thought, cool, Neymar as an FPL option would be nice.
Awesome, mate. Awesome.
Imagine that.
Okay. Good seeing the chat. World number 1 has just joined us. I think we have world number 198. Yeah, Rich Wood, world number 198 in the top 200 in the world. Best year ever by some distance. He's made some unbelievably lucky calls. You need luck, but you need a lot of skill as well. So fair play, Rich.
198, brilliant.
Yeah, welcome to the channel. Like, Rich, if you're a regular watcher, let us know. But yeah, awesome to have you. And we've also got world number 1, Ali Hangarov in the house. Ali, you've missed an awesome 25 minutes. I'm not going to lie. Dean's just been telling us how a Neymar, low chance, but it would be hilarious and could happen.
Low chance, not no chance. Yeah.
At Newcastle, and we've spoken about Isak and Wilson. I like my my Sean Longstaff theory on that one. I do. I think we could see him start together. So look, okay, let us know in the chat. You're all going to be shopping for, we've got Ali Azat as well. I feel like Ali might be in the top 200-300 in the world as well.
Blimey. It's like
Ali, let us know where you are in the world. I feel like I've seen your name on Twitter this week, and you might be like 240-ish. He asked who I support in Serie A. The answer is I don't support a Serie A team. My dad's a Milan fan, and being in his house, I should say that. But I just support any Italian team in Europe playing non-Italian opposition. But the scenes in Napoli last night were terrific to watch.
Yeah, how did he feel about Napoli as a Milan fan? Was he all right with that?
He's still gutted over the semi. Not gutted. He's still reveling in the fact that Milan beat Napoli in the semi. And he's like, we're through to the Champions League semi, so who cares? But I think he likes the fact that there's a different winner. He likes the strength of Serie A. And my dad's from Sicily, so he also likes the fact that there's a southern winner, because in Italy, the South are mocked a little bit, like sometimes we have the Northerners mocked by Southerners in England. And it's like, they don't have all the nice things and they don't have all the money. And it's great for the South to win a Serie A title because the dominance of the Northern teams, Inter Milan and Juve over the years, they actually class like even the Rome clubs in Italy as sort of Southern. So Roma and Lazio, who haven't won many Scudettos, together with Napoli, are seen as like the 3 teams that have a chance of winning that title.
Interesting.
So it's good for the South of Italy.
Yeah, definitely. Josh says, if I change my name to any form of Ali, do I instantly become better at fantasy football? It's worth a try, isn't it? The Ali show will just start that season. We'll all be totally fine.
That's hilarious. I think my chat is frozen. I've lost it. But guys, good to see over 200 of you watching. Thank you for supporting. And make sure you hit the subscribe. Although I know from earlier in the show, pretty much all of you subscribe already, don't you? But also feel free to hit that like button as well. What else have we got coming up in today's show, Dean? I know we've got Against the Obvious later. We're going to be showing our teams. Was there anything else? I've lost.
We're going to review our teams. I think that's about it, mate. Yeah, I mean, on the team news front, I was just going to say that Kurt Zouma and Shufal will miss out for West Ham this weekend. So I was obviously hit by the Zouma thing, got injured like 20 minutes into the first game of a double header, which was painful. So if you've got Zouma or Shufal, like time to ditch. But the other three, Declan Rice, Aguerd and Soucek should all be back for West Ham. So another defeat for Man United might be on the card. You never know.
Yeah, maybe so. Good to see the chat. I've now got it up to date. Loads of comments about Serie A, which is always good, but we won't go there. Rome is middle of the Italy, but classed as southern for the titles. Changing my name to Ali. Yeah. 8 points gap. Good question from Darren. Is 80 points gap too far in a mini league to catch up? Now, this is where FPL becomes really interesting, being sort of the end of the season, because we often talk about overall rank, and loads of you watching will care about overall rank, but we forget. And the way I used to play FPL, and the only way I played FPL, the only thing I ever looked at was my mini league. So if you're chasing something like an 80 points, you've just got to be checking out the team above you. Let's say you're second and the guy or woman above you in first has a similar team. You need to be making different moves. 80 points is absolutely huge to make up if teams are similar. And even more so this season, because we have such an obvious captain candidate. And that's made FPL harder in a way, because Haaland has always been the default captain. Therefore, to make those gains is difficult because you're reluctant to go against Haaland. And you're trying to make the gains on differentials. And you're like, a 5.5 million midfielder ain't going to be massively seeing huge gains over someone else, over another 5.5 million midfielder. So you might have to go different with captain, which means you might have to bet against Haaland. Now, is Haaland going to be benched this week against Leeds, or is he going to be benched against Everton between those Real Madrid games? I'm not sure he's going to be benched in either. I think there's a higher chance he gets benched against Leeds this weekend, because in between the Real Madrid games, it's a Tuesday, Wednesday turnaround. So there's 8 days between fixtures. The Everton game, I think, will be manageable for most that Real Madrid team, most that same lineup. But the Leeds game, both Grealish and Haaland, surely they need some minutes, some rest. Maybe they start and they get 45 or 60, depending on game state. But I wouldn't be surprised to see either Haaland or Grealish benched this weekend. Dean, I think I heard when I logged on before we came live, you're pretty big on the fact that Haaland will start. Right.
I just don't see the need to rest him from the start for Leeds in a game like this. Like, you've got to go and win the league first and foremost, and like that has to take precedent over like what you're going to do with Real Madrid. And Haaland is 22 years old. He's the fittest athlete around. It's not like he tears around the pitch in centre midfield and has to cover like ridiculous ground. Yeah. Like, he's short, sharp bursts. Yeah, he's physical and stuff like that, but I just don't think that Haaland needs a rest. And there is also that Pep factor that Ian was talking about last week, actually, on the show, of Pep wanting players to have momentum, to have a certain amount of minutes in them going into a game, to make sure that they are sharp, to make sure that their movements are right, to make sure that they have everything they need for a game like Real Madrid. So if Haaland spends Saturday sat on the bench, maybe it holds him back rather than gets him revved up for that one.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. That last game, I can't remember who City played just a couple of days ago, but who did they play? What was the score? Whatever it was, I was like,
West Ham?
That was it. So when they hit 2-0, I'm like, bring Grealish off, bring Haaland off. I think they both played 90. They clearly don't need a rest, or that would have been their rest. You manage their minutes in that game if you think they're at risk of starting the Leeds game. So I think I'm with you. I said, and there's been a couple of comments in the chat, like they've watched my show on my YouTube channel where I mentioned Haaland could be benched, and he could be. Do I think he will be if I was forced on it? Probably not. But again, the early team news will be important. And if he is benched, don't panic with 5 minutes to the deadline. What am I going to do? Who do I captain? Have your captaincy set. Yeah. Not necessarily your vice captain, because off the bench. If you hear news that he's benched, know who you're going to captain. And Salah's an obvious candidate this week. for many. But yeah, I think I'm with you. I think he probably plays because if he needed a break, he would have come off last time against West Ham. Arguably the same with Grealish. So at the moment, he's my captain. I did a poll on Twitter about an hour ago. 81% of people I asked are captaining Haaland. 10% Salah, 3% Kane, 4% other. So at the moment, the world and their dog are still captaining Haaland with the information we have at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, there's not enough doubt around it, I think, to take it off because it's such a risk if you don't play Haaland against Leeds and he starts or plays 90 minutes and scores 4 or something. This is a team that's going to be managed by Sam Allardyce. This could go either way. This could be a masterstroke and Leeds put up a really strong resistance and maybe even hit one on the break. Could be calamity. And Sam Allardyce manages his first game in 2 years up against the best team potentially in Europe and get absolute paste in. It's not Leeds aren't that good. And whatever Allardyce can do in football, I know he says he's better than Arteta and Klopp and everybody else, but he's only had 3 days. All these other guys haven't been able to fix this in months. Why would Sam Allardyce be able to fix this in days? I don't understand how whatever you teach, you're not suddenly teaching. You don't press reset when you walk into a dressing room and be right, forget everything else that you've been taught this season. Forget everything that's gone wrong. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. Flat back 4. You move up when he moves up. Whatever. The flaws, the memories are still there for those defenders, and I don't think that Allardyce has had enough time to get into the heads of these players that they can suddenly hold out against this Man City team.
FPL Guns, world number 1, Leeds are going down, sadly. I look at the fixtures, they're not keeping a clean sheet versus Man City, right? They're not keeping a clean sheet versus Newcastle. 2 of the best attacks in the league at the moment are Man City and Newcastle, probably 2 of the best 3 or 4. You put Brighton and maybe Arsenal in there, but Man City and Newcastle are the next 2 games. Now, the West Ham game is key in 37 and possibly Spurs 38. Maybe they do stay up. I'm not writing them off completely, but I cannot see clean sheets in the next 2. So yeah, I'm with you. I'll be backing against both Newcastle and City to score there.
Yeah. I just want to ask this question because he's asked it a couple of times now and I don't want us to miss it. He says, hi, G and Dean. Best defender to get this week. Not enough for Arnold. 3 Man City already. Got Dunk. Rank is 1 million. I'm in my first season. What would your advice be, mate? I'll leave that one to you.
Oh, I mean, Trent is by far and away the best defender to buy at the moment. So it's such a shame you can't get there. I wonder if there's a way you can by even taking a hit. Taking a hit for Arnold now off the back of the double, maybe not, but you just see his goal threat in this new position. He should have scored in the double game week. He's racking up bonus. 3 Man City already, and he has Dunk. So it's difficult. There aren't too many defenders outside of that bracket. I'm punting on Chilwell this week. I own him, but I'm starting him ahead of Trippier. Chilwell's fixtures. I mean, look, I'm not saying go buy Chilwell, but just so you know my thought process. Bournemouth and Forest, it's still Ben Chilwell. I know Chelsea could concede, but there is upside there. Man United defender. Man United are very solid at the back. You could look at Dalot or Luke Shaw or Lindelof. All those 3. I mean, go Luke Shaw. I'd probably say Luke Shaw.
Luke Shaw, yeah. Luke Shaw's a good shout, actually. Bad luck, as you say, yesterday, but that's not going to happen again. Is Jota a sell, in your opinion? I mean, it probably is, isn't it, at this point? You're going to be fielding a player that is not playing this weekend.
Yeah, I think he'll be benched. I think he'll probably come off the bench, and who knows what happens, but it could be 10 minutes. You just can't risk that. It's such a shame because the Liverpool fixtures are good. I'd love to hold him because he is Leicester after Brentford, and their defense is terrible. And then he has Villa and Southampton on the last day. But knowing how well Luis Diaz has played when he's coming on the left, I don't know. I don't even know if he's fully fit. What that first choice front 3 is. I don't know if Jota's part of that. So maybe I bought him for the double game week only, knowing I'd be moving to a Newcastle player very soon. So I think it's probably a sell, and you just jump early on your Newcastle asset. And speaking of Newcastle assets, let us know in the chat. If you've got 1 vote, who are you buying this week? Isak or Wilson? Give us a name in the chat because I reckon it's going to be split. We know Isak will get more minutes, both this week and over the double, but Wilson's numbers are ridiculous. I mean, what would you do, Dean? Who would you buy?
I think I'll go Wilson. I'm actually potentially going to do this too. I've got 2 free transfers. I think, 2 free transfers. I might even go to. I'll tell you what. Let's look at our teams and then we can talk about this there. Let's move on and let's do our teams. Yeah.
Perfect. teams up next.
Right, yeah. So let's look at this 2 free transfers. Yeah, so yeah, talking about Wilson and Isak. Wilson is 7 million, Isak currently 6.9. So not a lot of difference there. Got Ollie Watkins or Harry Kane, I guess, that I could switch out. It's quite a difficult call, to be honest. I'm not sure actually which one of those would be the best one to get, but obviously Kane would open up more money. And what I could potentially do if I got rid of Kane is I could probably get Trent in for Gabriel, or maybe even Zuma, and bring in Wilson or Isak up front. Yeah, I think Wilson, mate. I really do. I think like this is a guy that is so determined to be part of this.
Yeah.
You know, I talked about that podcast as earlier, and every time I hear him in that, he wins me over more and more. And like just how self-assured he is. I know you have to be as a Premier League footballer, but to talk so publicly like it too and actually do a podcast about it is pretty much backing yourself all the way. In terms of goal threat, in terms of like finishing chances, his positioning, and also like taking advantage of an Arsenal defence that is potentially way weaker than it normally would be. You know, Isak is the better all-round footballer. Isak is gonna be a bigger star than Callum Wilson ever will be.
Yeah.
I think Callum Wilson might be the pick here. This is such a difficult one because actually I think Isak.
So if we look at the Arsenal game and then the double game week, Isak probably starts all 3 of them. I think Wilson probably starts.
Yeah, that's true.
2. But I don't think that matters. When we look at the minutes and some of the numbers, let me just give you guys some numbers for Wilson. In the last 6 game weeks, 309 minutes. It's not a huge amount, right? I think Isak's at about 450. In that time, 8 big chances, 8 goals, 1 assist, like Jesus. 16 shots. Like he is so clinical. His like time on pitch to conversion rate is like up there with, I think it's not short, just short of maybe Haaland, but he's better than every other striker in the league. Like even Kane, he outperforms Kane in terms of goal threat. I think in terms over time, in terms of minutes, like XG per 90, similar sorts of stats. So he's massively up there, but I don't know. It's a tough one. He could be a super sub tomorrow. He could be a 1-pointer. But I feel like if he's a 1-pointer and he is benched tomorrow, Callum Wilson, I'd go into that double game week with the first fixture against Leeds and go, he's going to start.
Yeah, definitely.
I might end up going Isak for the minute guarantee. But likewise, I might go Alvarez. If I hear Alvarez is starting, I've got a City spot. So have you, Dean. Like we could make that move.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what I will do. I think I'll go Alvarez for a week and then convert him to a Newcastle forward next week with another week's worth of information. But if my hand is forced and I do have to go early, I will. The chat mainly saying Isak, which I'm not surprised at because he's safer.
He is safer for sure. I mean, look, I've also got to be sure if I'm going to ditch Kane or Watkins that either of these guys actually going to outscore him for this game week.
I like Kane versus Palace, mate. I think
that's the thing. Kane versus Palace is quite nice. And Watkins go to Wolves, who just played like one of the worst displays we've ever seen in the Premier League. Like, got to be a bit careful there. But anyway,
I can wait a week, mate.
Yeah, I probably can on that one.
But then who would you sell? Because you don't want to lose a transfer. I mean, you could sell Ben Mee.
I don't want to lose a transfer. You're right. So I could get rid of Ben Mee, but I'd have to find there could be just a low-key transfer, to be honest. My issue is kind of what somebody was asking about a minute ago. Like in my mini league, I haven't got to make up quite 80 points. Well, I would actually to win it. Yeah, I think I'm 80 points off the leader. But to get into the mix where you actually win some money in my league, I'm like 40 points off, I think. So it's really tight. Like in our main mini league that I'm in, like the top 4 win a little bit of money. The top one wins quite a bit, but second, third, fourth, there's like 6 of us that could finish in those positions. We're all separated by 40 to 50 points. So I really want to be making small gains like that at this stage. Like my overall rank doesn't really matter at this point. So I just want to try and finish in that top 4 in my mini league. So I just need to find a differential, and it's going to probably be a defender, I guess. that
I
could
don't
get
mind
me
Dalot
there.
for a differential, mate. Like Dallow's cheap. I know he's playing left back, but I feel like Dalot offers more goal threat than Lindelof and Shaw.
Yeah.
Then no, I don't mind Dalot. I mean, a
Yeah.
few
Really,
chats
Gabriel.
to Lindelof or Shaw. Like United defence is definitely what the chat are thinking. Zuma or me has been suggested to Shaw or Lindelof from a few different people.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone. I think that's actually a good call at this point. Yeah.
I don't mind that. And United obviously have a double coming up soon as well. So that's useful.
Yeah.
I mean, your goalkeepers, I mean, I'm guessing you'd play. I know Chelsea are useless guys. And I know a few gave me stick in the chat for mentioning I think Chilwell could be a nice differential this week. But surely we prefer Kepa this week, do we, over Raya?
I mean, do I think Chelsea are going to beat Bournemouth? No.
I think Bournemouth are favourites.
Of course they are.
Not the bookies, but they actually should be favourites.
They should be with the bookies. Chelsea are the worst team in the league. There's no form here. Like, there's no. If you look at like the performances we've seen since Lampard came in at Chelsea, and over that time also studied Bournemouth. Bournemouth should win this about 3-0. Like they're actually playing really well now. Bournemouth. I said literally since I wrote them off in that show we did where he said who was going to get relegated. So it's a tough one because I don't think either of those goalkeepers are actually going to do a lot in those matches. Maybe I should change that, but. Okay, cool. I appreciate that, everyone. It looks like we'll be getting a Man United defender in for one of those defenders.
Yeah, I like that. And look, guys, there's going to be so many of you having to, like, Watkins is heavily owned, right? There's so many good teams out there, good squads now, because we've all been bench boosting and stuff. There's so many that are having to bench Watkins this week. And I'm with Dean, like, he plays Wolves, who just lost 6-0 away to Brighton. So, and it's a derby that. I know Watkins has been running dry in the last 3, I think it is, but I'd be reluctant to sell him and I'd be reluctant to bench him. I guess your other one you could be reluctant to bench, Dean, is Saka, because I think that Newcastle-Arsenal game has got goals in it. I think that could be like I think that's going to be a thriller because Newcastle won't keep a clean sheet. I think they've only got 1 clean sheet in the last 13. I think that's all comps, but they've not been keeping clean sheets, Newcastle, which has been such a good defence. And then Arsenal with their centre-back pairing and the way Newcastle have been attacking, this just has the ingredients of a 3-3 for me. Like, I hope it's going to be a thriller. And therefore, attacking assets like Saka, you might, I don't know who you drop. You've got Martinelli in there already. So, yeah.
No, it's weird. It looks weird with Saka on the bench in this team, doesn't it?
I mean, I don't think I'd drop, I'd maybe drop March and Matoma. I don't know. Can't drop Kakpo, can you?
It's hard because they got Everton at home. Like, I don't think.
That's a great fixture, isn't it?
A great fixture. It's really like, who do I fancy, Saka or Martinelli? Like,
yeah.
And then I definitely don't want both of those playing. So maybe if I'm keeping Saka, my thought process was like potentially getting rid of Saka because, as I say, he's outstayed his welcome, really. But yeah, if I'm keeping Saka another week and he's got the pen appeal too, like maybe I just start Saka.
Yeah. A few saying bench March, but I don't know. Solly March, knowing he's going to start against Everton, I think he could be like, let's say Haaland was benched tomorrow. I genuinely think Solly March could be a fun captaincy option. I'm not going to do it; it's too risky for me. But I think Brighton could hammer Everton. Like Everton's defense versus Leicester the other day was so bad, and Brighton top 3 attack in the league.
They're the best. They might be the best team in the league, mate. Brighton.
Yeah,
they actually might be the best football team in the league at times. Like, then obviously Man City and Arsenal get all the plaudits, but what Brighton have done this season, the way they've played, has been absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. The tools that De Zerbi's been working with as well, like fair play, what a coach, like proper coach.
100%.
Let's have a look at my team. I only have 1 free transfer and less money in the bank. I think I'm 0.3 million in the bank. So my big decision this week, I guess, is I think a lot of my decisions will be based, and I hate it. I hate the fact I'm reacting to team news because I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's fair on those in Australia that won't be up. I don't think it's great that we get leaks. I like the fact FPL moved the deadline to 90 minutes before the first game because it used to be 60. And the reason they moved the deadline was to stop these leaks. And annoyingly, we still get them. Do I still use them to my advantage? Well, yeah, I guess I will. Do I support that idea? Absolutely not at all. But there I will be tomorrow.
Checking your timeline.
Yeah, like I'm on a plug here. If you're Rever and want to watch Sky Sports News tomorrow, I'm on and we're doing a 12:30 to 1 o'clock slot. And I was like, I really hope we're not going up to the deadline because usually we go up to the deadline. It finishes at 10:57 and the deadline is 11. But tomorrow's different. And I'm like, thank goodness I've got half an hour, because 3 minutes wouldn't be enough for me to do my team when I've just got off air. So I'm literally going to come off air. I'm not even going to wash my makeup off. And I'm going to be in the zone on my laptop and phone in the car going like, what moves am I going to make before I set off?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it will be my transfers. My Jota replacement will be based on, does Alvarez start? If he does, I think I put him in. And then if he doesn't, or we don't know, then I think it's very likely I'll be buying Callum Wilson. Like I've said Wilson all week. I might bottle it and go Isak. But I think that's the only move I'll be making is Jota out. If Grealish doesn't start, there's an argument to say, oh, I've got enough money for, say, a Mahrez. Could I go Grealish to Mahrez if Mahrez starts? That would also be tempting. But then I've got that headache moving forward. Is Mahrez going to start both games in the double game week? I just know Grealish is like first name, one of the first names on the team sheet when everyone is fit at the moment. So I don't know. I do think for those looking for a 1 week punt this week, if you can stretch it, Phil Foden, I think, is the best of all the Man City assets for a 1 week punt. Better than Mahrez, better than Alvarez. But I can't afford him. I've not got enough to go Grealish to Foden, for example, and then back again. So yeah, I think that'll be my moves. And look, if Grealish is benched, then I can start Trippier. I want to start Trippier this week, but I'm punting on Chilwell instead. And I've got my Trippier there up my sleeve if I need it. So there we go.
Fair.
Mustafa says, gee, you should captain Chilwell. I'm chasing you in our mini league, so you need to be differential. I think starting Chilwell has got enough hate. I can't possibly consider the idea of captaining him. But on paper, Dean, it's like, I know Chelsea are useless and they'll concede. But Chilwell, unlike most defenders in the game, and certainly like all the other Chelsea defenders, he does offer some upside, right? Even under Frank.
Even under Frank, yeah, just about, I think, mate. It's difficult, isn't it? Because at some point you think Chelsea have got to pull a performance out of somewhere, and if it's going to happen, then you think somebody like Chilwell is going to be the guy that can play a big part in it. So it is a game like this, and Forest, the two matches that I was always fearful of when I predicted that Lampard wouldn't win a single game as Chelsea manager this season. I was like, well, these are the two, obviously, where he might, but like, I still think Bournemouth are going to win. But yeah, if I had to go for Chelsea option, you might be right.
Yeah. Schnaps just asked about Grealish. I've just rewind 3 minutes, Schnaps. I've just spoken loads about Grealish. De Gea over Kepa. Question about that. Why would you go De Gea over Kepa? Doesn't Kepa have higher clean sheet odds? Kepa does have higher clean sheet odds, but I think the bookies have got this one wrong. And I am splitting it because I've already got one Chelsea defender. I certainly don't want the double up. I like De Gea. I think United's defence. United just played Bournemouth over 120 minutes in the FA Cup semi, and then 90 last night before the pen. So what's that? 190 minutes of football, and they kept Brighton out. Brighton are the best top three attack in the league. So that United clearly are a very good defence. I think they could keep a clean versus West Ham.
Yeah, absolutely that. Yeah.
So yeah, that's my only dilemma this week. What to do with Jota? Who I replace him with? A lot will go down to the leaks. I am veering towards Callum Wilson, guys. Helped by the fact Dina said he'll go Wilson over Isak. Helped the fact that I've said all week I want to go Wilson, despite the fact he might not start. But also Ali Hangarov in the chat, world number 1, who I am very jealous of and wish I had his rank. But we do seem to manage in a similar way in terms of managing our risk. And Ali and I speak a lot offline about our decisions. Ali also, like me, goes for high upside players, risky players. Ali and I both bought Jota last time out. So Ali has also said he would go Callum Wilson. If the world number 1 is telling you that, I think we can do that.
Seems like a good person to be making tips.
Yeah, exactly that.
How do you think you would cope, mate, if you were world number 1?
Oh, mate, I'd be a mess. I'd be an absolute mess. I don't think I'd be able to produce content because I'd take it so seriously, because it could be really good for me if I was world number 1 and 1 FPL. I wouldn't want anyone knowing any of my thought processes.
Exactly,
Super private. I'd have to go offline for a year.
You'd have to put your career on hold and be like, there's something more important come up. I'll be back next season.
Yeah, genuinely would. Like, good ranks are important. But let's say I was world number 200. it wouldn't bother me. Like, I'd still give exactly the same opinions because, like, for me, you either win FPL or you don't, right? Or you've got a shot of winning it. You're a top 10 or top 20 player. So if I was in the top 10, I'd be really secretive. But, 200 rank onwards, I'd be like, it doesn't really matter where I finish and what advice I give because you just want to win the thing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I'm at. A bit like my rank at the moment. Like, I don't care if I finish at 200k or 100k. It's still a rank I'm not that happy with. So I might as well just play risky and go for players like Jota and Wilson.
Yeah, absolutely. All or nothing.
Yeah, thanks there, CGA. Great, guys. Let's move on to some of your questions. We've got 7 minutes left of the show. Great to see over 300 of you with us. We do these streams every Mondays and Fridays. If you're new around here, we'll be back on Monday night. Now, you might look ahead at the fixtures and go, oh, there's 3 games on Monday. It's a bank holiday here in England. Weird kickoff times. I think it's like a 3, a 5:30, one, and then maybe a 8.
There's a late one, yeah.
At 7:15, aren't we? I think we said we'd do 7:15.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That 8 o'clock game is rubbish as well for FPL. I can't remember who it was. It's something like Nottingham Forest, Southampton.
Right. Is it as bad as that? Is it? Yeah, it is. It's Forest, Southampton. So on Monday, I'll be at Fulham, Leicester in the afternoon. That's a 3 o'clocker. I'll be back for the 7 o'clock-ish show. Gwyn, who would you captain if Haaland is benched and you don't have Salah? Out of your lineup, what would you go for, mate?
I would go for the guy I'm probably going to replace Jota with if it was Alvarez. And then if not, I'd go Matoma or March. I'd go to Brighton.
In mine, I think I'd go Kane. I mean, he's got a decent fixture.
I like that.
You just never know. Like he's been a reliable asset, hasn't he? So I think I'd still be tempted to just go for like the pedigree.
I like that. Thanks, Gwyn. Good question. Because we might be faced with that.
Yeah, we might.
And just remember, guys, if Haaland is benched, he could very easily come off the bench and get 10 minutes and a 1-pointer or whatever. So don't think, oh, I've got my vice captain. If Haaland's benched, my advice would be to take the armband off him, just in case he does get a cameo. Look, he could score in his cameo, but still, I think I'd be taking the armband off, not just going, oh, I've got a vice captain in place.
Babani said, can we give him a... Sorry, Babani says, give me a missed call when you guys start the show next time. I seem to miss it every time. You got to press that bell, mate. Press the bell, set all your alerts on. It's always 7 o'clock whenever we can. I mean, 80% of the time, I'll say this season, we've still managed to go at 7 on a Monday and Friday. We try to keep it that way for exactly that reason. But thanks for joining anyway, mate.
Yeah, I've just hit an arrow under subscribed, and it gives you the options of all alarm bells, personalized, none, or unsubscribed. So I'm guessing if you hit all or you personalize it, you get like maybe an email notification, or it just comes up on your YouTube feed when you're next in. But you can set alerts, guys. Make sure you hit that bell when you subscribe.
Defo.
Barbani, good question. No, sorry, that was Barbani Net. Last time up, the question I saw on the screen before Barbani was a good question. I can't remember what it was. It was something about benching Isak. I think it was something along the lines of, should I bench Isak or March? That's it. I would bench Isak over March, but I'd want to start on both.
Yeah, it's a tough call, isn't it? Yeah, not a situation you'd want to be in case you missed out. All right, needs to bench one from Grealish. Brighton guys, Isak, Watkins. Who do you think should be on the bench? Oh, I mean, it depends which Brighton guys, I guess, because there's 4 that you could have. That is tough. I mean, they're all such good assets.
I think Grealish is going to be benched, so I'd bench him.
I think Grealish, yeah. I mean, he hasn't. His performances have been really good. His output isn't amazing. Likely to be benched. I'd probably say Grealish is the one there, yeah. Is Botman and Wilson enough for game week 36 for Newcastle? Good point. Let's throw it forward. Why not?
You need a triple up. You need to get to 3.
Do you think you need to get to 3? I'm just remind people. So it's Leeds away for Newcastle and Brighton at home.
Yeah, like there's only a few game weeks left. There's only 2 teams double game weekend in 36. You need triple Brighton and triple Newcastle. You just get there.
True. Yeah, that is true. I need to bear that in mind, actually. Alvarez this week or Wilson next week. I already have Isak. I mean, you probably want Wilson over 2, right? Like Wilson for that.
I think so.
Yeah.
Unless you know Alvarez is starting, and then you could, like me, go Alvarez in this week and then Wilson next. But then that's obviously 2 transfers on the one spot. But if you don't have any other fires,
and if De Bruyne is back, then Alvarez ain't playing. That's the thing you got to bear in mind. He doesn't play Alvarez, Haaland, and De Bruyne. It like I've seen a lot of City people talking about this. Like he won't do that because of the style of play. Unless they really, really have to have those 3 guys on the pitch. And they might do at some stage.
Yeah.
But to start with those 3 seems extremely unlikely.
Haley, one of our chasers, I would keep Akanji for now. I think I would. He does have a double coming up, and I don't think we'll see a huge amount of rotation now. I know he's had a rest. I think I'd hold him.
Yep, seems to make sense. Bruno and Wilson, Isak for Grealish and Watkins. And a -4. Yeah, I guess to get the Newcastle asset in, Bruno.
I hate these questions. I can't work them out to go. I need to see the rest of your team.
Well, I mean, we just said that Grealish isn't playing. But probably, I mean, Watkins does have a decent fixture. You want Wilson or Isak to come in because you've got the 2 next week as well. Arsenal. I would do that. Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure. It's not entirely sure it's worth the -4 though. That would be my main.
I'd wait a week.
Concern with it. Yeah.
Wait a week and do it for free.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's worth it. Martial.
Oh, he's wearing gloves in May. He's wearing gloves in May. I was watching him last night going, I need to do a list of players. I've seen Mudryk wearing gloves in May. And now I've seen Martial wearing gloves in May. It's not on.
It's very unnecessary. Very unnecessary. I mean, when you play football, even when it's cold, your hands do get warm like 10 minutes into the game. And that's at a low level. Premier League football, like in May, you should be way too hot to have gloves on. Not having it.
Yeah, not up for that. Oh, and Ciso. Isn't Ciso going to be like the next big Brighton name?
He is.
He's so good.
Yeah, next season, people. I'm not sure I'd go there right now because there's too many others. But Ciso is definitely the next one off the conveyor belt, I think.
Yeah.
What to do with Jota?
I think you got to sell him.
Ditch.
Guns. Ali Hangarov. He was going for a midfield punt. I'm so impressed by Willock as a player. I don't know if I like Willock as an FPL asset. He's so cheap. He's like 4.8. I don't know if I love Joel Linton as an FPL asset either, Ali. I'd love to tell you one of them, but I'm not particularly fond of either. I'd rather go double defense and then Isak or Wilson. But maybe you're looking at one defender, Wilson or Isak, or Wilson, you've said, and then a midfielder too. If pushed, I'd go Joel Linton, I think.
Yeah, I would go Joel Linton if I was pushed too. I was actually just looking at that. I was like, I could just like take Martinelli out of this team and get Joel Linton in as one of my transfers. Maybe we'll have a look at that in a minute.
Last one.
Yeah, Watkins, Wolves fans. So could sell then if I get Arnold for Zuma, I'd have 5.3. Who should I get? Undav is all I can really see as a viable option. That ain't a viable option. Do not get Undav. He was more surprised than I was that he scored in the last game. I've never seen someone so uncertain whether a goal's going to be given as Undav was when he scored his first goal in that game.
Honestly, don't do it because that's a valuable Brighton spot. They've got 2 double game weeks left. You need a Brighton spot. Like, find a third Brighton player you want and buy them. There are other players under 5.3 you could pick. You could pick Vinicius at Fulham. You could pick Edouard at Palace. You could pick Nonto, who will get starts. Hey, you could pick Enciso for 4.6 over Undav. Undav is definitely not the one. Or you go to a dead spot, 4 million Greenwood, and you bench him every week.
Yeah. By the way, when did they update the FPL app so that it's like this weird thing? Like, have you seen now when you click on a player's profile, like it's all a bit different in terms of like looking at their fixtures and form?
I saw someone say something on Twitter yesterday.
I hate it.
I think
like
it was yesterday.
You can't quickly get. I mean, okay, now I'm seeing how you get there. You can click on matches and stuff, but okay, it's not quite as bad as I thought, to be fair. I was like, hang on, when did this change? Like, I was on this every week for the last 35 weeks, and it hasn't looked like this. I can't even remember what point I was going to make now. Why I was even coming in. Oh, Salah, I was looking at his fixtures, yeah. someone mentioned Salah as captain as a differential. Obviously, they got Brentford at home. I was just trying to see what they had. Brentford home, and then Leicester, Aston Villa, Southampton. Liverpool have got a really nice run here.
Yeah.
And Salah, it's not a bad shout. Like, if you have got to make up some room here, like to have Salah as your captain and you want to just go a bit different, then yeah, go for it.
So annoying because Jota, like, these fixtures are there for him. They were there in the double.
They were. It's only a bruised rib. He'll be back by the end.
Yeah. I'm sure he'll be fine when I sell him. Guys, thank you so much for watching. That's all we've got time for tonight. It's been awesome. I promise you guys, if you've joined the show in the last 10 minutes, 20 minutes, go back and watch the last 40 minutes. Like, it's been an awesome hour, I think, of YouTube FPL content. One of my favorite shows in ages. The chat has been buzzing. Thank you so much to all the new faces in the chat. Like, just now, like, there's a few names like, forgive me if you are a regular, but Laurie and Magic 69. I've seen, I think Derek might be a regular, but a fair few names, Ishmael, fair few names in there that we don't always see. So thank you for joining. Welcome to the community of chasers. We refer to our regulars as chasers on this channel. Make sure you're liking and subscribing. Go back and watch the last hour. We'll be back Monday at 7 or 7:15. Set those alerts. And for now, he's been Dean, I've been Gianni, and we've been chasing green arrows.